All right, guys. Impromptu stream number 2 for today. The Anet box just got dropped off, and I really wasn't expecting it to make it today. That means this box came from China to my door in Pennsylvania in less than 24 hours when it was actually like picked up by the carrier. That's crazy. That's like crazy. How in the hell did they do that? At any rate, we're not going to be assembling this today, but I can't have boxes and not open them. So I want to go ahead and pop this box open, take a look at the stuff inside, and if we can, get a little bit of a jump on assembly tomorrow. Maybe have some of the parts sorted out on the table here. Since it did come, we are going to be assembling this on stream tomorrow. And I just want to make sure we get it done in a timely manner. So if we can, we'll maybe throw some of the components together. At the very least, get everything unboxed. I've heard that peeling the covering off of the acrylic pieces can be quite a chore, so maybe I'll do some of that tonight off cam. I don't want to waste time doing that crap. But yeah, just generally take a look at everything, make sure everything is okay. Box looks fine. I don't anticipate anything's damaged. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at this inside, get some of the stuff prepped, make sure we end up having everything we need tomorrow for assembly, and just basically nosing in the box and trying to do a little work here. I apologize if you hear a print. I do have a print running, and I generally try not to have one running, but I have to print a spinner for a friend of my wife's. And I just happened to get that, if anybody saw the Trinus video that I just opened on stream, it came with like a little mini roll of some really nice looking blue. So I wanted to go ahead and print a spinner out of it and just see how it prints. Because it is a nice color. Hey, what's up, Dawn? I don't know how many people will show up. Nobody's expecting me to be streaming right now. I just finished a stream. So I'm sure some people think there might be like a bug with YouTube that it's sending out another alert. But yeah, so if I didn't say, this is the Anet A8 from GearBest. I did purchase this printer. I've purchased everything that I have thus far. I haven't lucked out and got anybody to send me anything yet. So we're gonna go ahead and pop it open, see what's inside, and try to get organized for the stream tomorrow. Because tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be assembling this and trying to get it 100% done and working, so I can start the process of upgrading it, which is pretty much something you should expect to do if you buy this printer. As far as price, there's pretty much perpetual sales on GearBest. And I got this for $160. I think it was like $162 currently. And free shipping, which is kind of... Sorry about that. My power strip failed. I don't think the camera went out, but we lost lights and everything. And my print failed. Yeah, we're good. Luckily, it was just like a sub power strip. I need to replace that thing. It's a cheap one. Oh no, is this upside down? I think I have the box upside down. Because a whole bunch of stuff just poured out. Okay. Smells like really weird styrofoam in here. But yeah, luckily that wasn't a catastrophic power failure. I did lose about 3 minutes on my spinner print. But just taking a look at this print so far, it looks like that filament print's really nice. Poly Plus, or whatever the hell that was. Anyway, alright, in this box, looks like we have our steppers. These are definitely inexpensive steppers. They have the pulleys already installed. Not marked or anything. It is kind of nice. Well, actually, they are labeled. I'm sorry. I take that back. This is the Y. This is the Z. You can see the Z has a little collar for the lead screws. It is a nice touch that the MK2 motors were all like screen printed with what they were. Nice touch. We have our part cooling fan with the little duct that everybody seems to kind of hate because it doesn't perform all that well. We've got our Z-axis holders. It looks like they already have the bearings pressed in there. Though they're it's pressed the whole way down in. I don't know if that's ideal. I know in the MK2 they're kind of spaced out. But everything looks... You can tell this is injection molded plastic for all of their pieces, as opposed to being printed. Though, this little fan duct is 3D printed, and it's kind of an ugly print, honestly. Not printed all that well. Got our other Z-axis riser end thing in there. The other Z-axis stepper. It's got the little shock absorber thing on there. So that's it out of that layer. We've got this kind of infamous acrylic with the... I can see already... people complain a lot about how difficult it is to get this paper off, and I can see why. It looks like... It doesn't even look like it's a paper coating on there. It looks like it's cut out of, like... some kind of wood. That's... I'm not looking forward to that. I've heard some horror stories about getting the paper off. Maybe we can just leave it on and it'll be like the wood edition. Though you can see like this piece, it's kind of starting to come off. And it doesn't seem too bad once it begins to peel, but looks like it's hard to get that edge started. So get everything out of the box. Here's our lead screws. These are some of the things that worry me the most, is that they're nice and straight, because they will definitely make or break your printing experience. We've got our smooth rods. I guess this is the extruder assembly. It looks like it's partially assembled. Looks okay. And some cable wraps and cable ties. I see now that this is upside down. Don't tell anybody we did that. Doesn't he ever look at the chat? You're not a regular here, are you? I constantly look at chat. It's like to the point where when you watch the videos back later, it's kind of distracting. You've been waiting on your MK2. The 5S does look cool. I was considering getting one of those. It was tough to pick. In the back of my mind, I knew that the best fit for me was going to be the Wanhao, the i3, the newest version, the 2.1. Because I mainly just needed another machine to sit and, plug away at printing PLA prints. Word for fun. I was in your recommended. That's cool, man. But no, I usually interact with chat a lot. Like I said, it's usually to the point where when people watch the streams back, I've had comments about focusing on what I'm doing instead of chat. It's kind of cool that these come with a side of flush cutters. Though it does kind of bum me out. I bought these ones 2 days ago. I just bought a new set of flush cutters. Looks like I could have held off. These ones are actually a little bit nicer than the cheap-ass ones I bought. Anyway. And then 10 meters of regular-ass PLA that we'll probably never use for anything. Some wiring. couple bags of hardware, some really small printed acrylic parts, a bunch of really small printed acrylic parts. Some, I guess these are bushings. Oh, no, there's linear bearings in there. Yeah, it looks like there's bearings in there. You subbed. Did my stupid face pop up on screen? I didn't even see it. I need to change that. Should I watch you or sleep so I can go to my test? Sleep is overrated. I'm not the best one to ask that question. I usually sleep 4.5 to 5 hours a night. And then just consume a ton of caffeine. The acrylic pieces do look okay, but holy crap, is that paper ever on there tight? I assume these are laser cut, and it probably kind of fuses the edge of the paper into the edge of the acrylic. Not looking forward to that, because there's a ton of little pieces. We've got our belts. Fans and hardware. A little USB thing with a micro SD adapter in it. Looks like our little, our main board. I actually don't know what main board these use. I don't know if it's like a known one or a proprietary, like, Anet version. Oh, it is their proprietary kind of thing, I see. It has the Anet branding on it. Interesting. It doesn't look like a bad little board. It's definitely lightweight compared to, like, the Rambos. And then I assume this is the LCD. And like I said, we'll go ahead and get this out. Yeah, LCD. The big old push buttons. And I believe that is everything. Alright. Oh, and the power supply. I don't know when I got that out. I didn't even notice. Pretty standard looking cheap power supply. With part of the plastic still kind of caught under the edge. This does not appear to have come with any instructions, so I assume there is a PDF or something similar. We didn't really look at this, because we have our PLA that we're not going to use. And then I guess this is the subframe for the heat bed. And it looks straight, but that's, I guess that's just like stamped aluminum. Looks like it was cut with a shear. Not super rigid, but I guess it's fine. And then this is the actual heat bed. And I always wondered why they put the tape on there. Because I doubt you're supposed to print to this. Because it's really rough. I don't know if I guess they might just do it to protect the surface. But it's not a terrible looking heat bed. It's kind of a questionable little solder point on there. But that's it. So, since the instructions are on the SD, don't really have access to them at the moment because I have to sort all that stuff out later. What was your question here? How good is the quality on the prints in the Prusa MK2? It's going to be your first printer. It's fantastic, man. It's like absolutely fantastic. The MK2 is great. Unless you're looking to spend $2,500 plus on a printer, it's hard to get the same quality out of the box as what the MK2 will do. You said you're going to get yours soon. If you're anything like me, when you print those first couple test prints, you're going to be shocked. Like, compared to 3D prints I had seen before that, like my first test prints, I still have a lot of them. They're amazing. Like that, the printer is really amazing. I love it. It's still like my go-to. Like I unboxed the Trinus. I got to use Trinus that I actually just unboxed today, and then I have the Anet A8 here, which is this is a really cheap printer. I mainly got the A8 because I get a lot of questions about it, and I wanted to actually get one of the kits and have some hands-on experience with it before I like give people an opinion on the printer instead of just like reiterating what other people have said. So I'm kind of interested to try it out. Man, I don't want to peel this paper out. That sucks. You almost need like an instructional video on that part of it. Wish my daughter was old enough to like sit and peel this. I could convince her that it's fun. Have her sit for a couple hours and do this. Plus, I'm sure the gloss black is going to show like fingerprints and stuff really bad. I guess this isn't that bad. Once you get it started, it peels off okay. It's just getting an edge started. All right, so we're like 2% done with that. What the hell, MacVision? Thanks, man. That was unnecessary. It helps my pain. It doesn't help the pain on my forehead, but yeah, thanks, man. Sweet. I wish I would give you something back other than my stupid face talking about this printer. But what printer do you have, Mac? Just out of curiosity. I assume you have one. I see you in a lot of the 3D printing chats. Because I'm slowly getting to know people and have an idea of like what print setup they have, because it makes it easier to talk to people when you kind of know like what frame of reference they're coming from. I'm not sitting here peeling that stuff off. What could we do? Because like I said, we want to get prepped for the stream tomorrow, so I don't waste time doing stupid stuff. I might be able to get my wife to sit and help me peel some of this stuff off. Because I guess we do need to have most of that off for the assembly tomorrow, since I'm sure some of those surfaces will be inside of joints. But I don't know, this is my first really cheap kit. And I gotta say, honestly, like, the components don't look terrible. I'm not, like, appalled by the quality of anything, honestly. Oh, you have one of the G-Tech i3s? Is the G-Tech is, what is that most like? If you print at 0.05 millimeter, I'm assuming you mean on the layer height. It does make a difference. I actually happen to have... let me see. I'll try to show you an example. I actually printed these pieces out for a video that I'm going to do very soon to compare layer heights for these dungeon tiles. I'll try to show you since you asked. Let me get that up here. Oh, the cam's super bright. All right, I'll try to get this zoomed here, or focused here. So here are these pieces right here. Hopefully the focus will be okay. Let me adjust it. I don't know if that's in focus or not. This is, the tops are a good place where you can kind of see this. This is printed at 0.2 millimeter layer height, or 200 microns. And you can see anywhere where there's like a contour, it's going to give you that stepping effect, and you'll really see it. As far as like the sides of this, like a wall section like this, it doesn't make a huge difference. It's noticeable depending on how picky you are, because like it'll really come down to personal preference. But areas like the top here, like if you see these side by side, this one is at 0.2 millimeters, and this one is at 0.1. And there is a noticeable difference on some of those areas. Hopefully that's focused well enough to see. Might even be able to zoom in and tweak the focus even more. Ah, there you can kind of see. See how this one's like pretty smooth, and this one's, you know, you have that stepped effect. And that's the difference between 0.2 and 0.1. 0.5 is even finer than this. The only problem is that your print times are long. They get very long very quick. I'm trying to remember. I actually printed these at the same time because in Simplify you can print multiple items with different profiles. So even though these are different layer height, I actually printed them at the same time on the MK2. And one of these pieces at 0.2 takes approximately 3 hours, maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes to 3 hours and 15 minutes, depending on exactly what's on the piece. This is almost, I want to say, like 6.5 or 7 hours. I think it's more than double the time. Again, that's an approximation, but it's about double. No surprise, you double the layer resolution and it doubles the print time. But it actually, when you factor in like acceleration settings and stuff like that, it actually ends up being more than double sometimes, which is kind of unexpected for some people. But no, it does make a difference. If you're willing to wait the extra time for the prints, the quality will be noticeably different. Like I said, especially if you want a good test piece, print like a semicircle, like something that's rounded on the top, where it like really accentuates that step kind of effect you get with the layers. The finer your layers are, the less pronounced that'll be. So it really does make a difference. Hey, what's up, Nikan? Did I stream the wall printing on Twitch? The wall painting? I don't think I did. I think I did stream painting the wall like a long time ago, but am I still in the Slack chat sometimes? Oh man. No. I do pop in periodically, but it's probably been 3 weeks since I popped in. I need to get in more often for sure. Max said it's a very good machine. Talking about the MK2, when you do upgrades like the Titan. Do you mean the MK2? I've seen people do the Titan, or do you mean the Anet? Because I have an E3D V6 Lite that I'm probably going to put on this Anet. I'm going to run it as is for a while, and then once I get a feel for how it performs stock, then we'll start piling things on it and see how good we can get it to print. Oh, the walls. I got you. No, I don't do any like print streams where I'm actually just like streaming a print going. Like these printed last night. I tend to print stuff overnight and all day. These are just in the eSun PLA Plus, which I love. I've started using that recently. This stuff prints great. I like it because it prints cool. Like I think I printed these at 195. And the detail and like layer consistency you get at those temps is really, really good. I like it. Plus the silver's nice. That's a nice base to paint and prime on top of. Okay, so I guess without instructions, there's not a whole lot we're going to get accomplished today, unfortunately. But I guess I will get everything unpackaged. And we'll get it laid out on the table here, so when we start in the morning, we won't be wasting any time doing any kind of stupid crap. And like I said, I'm going to do my best tonight to get all this stuff peeled off, so we have our acrylic pieces ready to go. Probably lay them out and organize them a little bit better. Oh, you upgraded the G-Tech with the E3D Titan. The Titan seems sweet. I just like having the MK2. You get spoiled because it has a regular V6 on it, and that thing prints great. But I imagine, because this isn't, I know you can't tell how it works by the way it looks. This doesn't look like a god-awful extruder. Let's go ahead and open it up. I don't see how it cools in the heat break. It seems like all nozzle. I don't want to break any wires here. Looks like we definitely have to do some soldering. This just says cut wires on the end of the thermistor and stuff. Yeah, this doesn't have like any heat break, which is kind of weird. This, I know it's a little tough to see. This is just like a heat block and then a threaded rod that goes up to your direct drive, which is kind of weird coming off the E3D V6. It's not like a setup I'm used to seeing. But hopefully it works okay. I'm not expecting miracles out of it, but hopefully it functions, at the very least. We'll set this over here. I know I'm glad it has an LCD and a control panel. If anybody was here earlier, I got the Trinus unboxed, and it seems like it works. I need to get a replacement build plate for it, because that is not what you're supposed to be printing on. And I'll probably just go ahead and get a heated build plate for it, if I'm going to. But I went on the Trinus 3D website and was looking at the LCD upgrade. Two painful pieces of information. One, they're out of stock, and God only knows when they'll be getting them back in, because I think there's a pretty decent demand for the Trinus right now. Number two, it's a $60 upgrade for the LCD panel, because it has like a touch screen, which I really don't care about. I just want like a way to interface with the printer that doesn't require tethering. So I'm going to do some looking. I don't know if anybody is aware of an aftermarket option, like of just getting basically like a cheap LCD interface like this, because you can get these like dirt cheap. Because I'd be fine with this kind of just hanging on the back out of sight, because it is a nice looking machine. I hate to like hang something like this on it, but at the same time, I hate to spend $60 for an LCD to be able to interact with it. MacVision says he's using eSun all the time. I've never tried their regular PLA. I have seen like mixed reviews about their regular PLA, but the PLA Plus is great. Like I like that it's a little bit more flexible than regular PLA, which makes it nice. So we'll set all that stuff aside. Get a lot of these packages opened up. Bearing blocks. I wish the MK2 would come with something like this. These are nice little assemblies. Just like a holder with linear bearing in there, held in with two C-clips. It's funny to say this is a $160 printer, and that's a $700 printer. And I think this is a slightly better solution than the MK2 has on the Y-axis. What filaments other than ABS and PLA do you recommend noobs buy? I tell you what, if you are new, something to consider. And for the record, I am in no way affiliated with these guys, but I've had a subscription to MakerBox for I think 7 months now, and I got it because I was new. And I freaking love it. Like, this is the one that came for this month. And I think it's $19 currently for every month. And they send 4 random filament samples every month. And, like, this month, this one's kind of a special month. It has, this is from Beaver Filaments. There's some of the silk in here, which has this, like, really cool iridescent finish, but prints basically like PLA. They have the buzzed from 3D Fuel, which is, I think this is made with stuff left over from beer production. This stuff's pretty cool. Prints like regular PLA. They have some of their own brand PLA that they're experimenting with using. This is just like a regular white PLA, and then some of the Protopasta glitter flake. But I love it because, like, when I was new to 3D printing, which wasn't that long ago, it's intimidating to buy filament because even cheap filament is, you know, pushing $20 a kilogram, and it's hard to tell what you like, because I actually have tons of these samples. Because before you know it, you just have... excuse me. Before you know it, you just have, like, tons of samples, and, like, I've found a couple filaments that I absolutely love through these samples. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there. It's a great way to get access to some filaments that you'd otherwise not get without buying a whole roll. And buying a whole roll is kind of risky because you don't know if you're going to hate it. Like, there's some of the filaments I've hated. You know, you try the sample and you do a couple prints, you're like, man, I just don't like this stuff. Not a good fit. Because I found... I actually talked about these earlier today. I hadn't printed with ABS for a long time. I stuck with PLA. And this is the MG94 ABS. It's like a really low, what do they want to call that? A low warpage ABS that's easy to print with if you're new to ABS. This stuff's worth checking out. And you can see this part's super shiny. This was also the first part that I ever smoothed with acetone. Super easy to do. I actually, if you go back and watch that video, I actually used the heat bed on the MK2 as a heat source, and then just had my Tupperware container with this sitting inside of it, kind of elevated, and super easy to smooth prints. And then Omni was another filament that I really like that I found, because it prints just like PLA, but you can see it flexes like this little crossbow. You can actually flex the limbs without them breaking, and this would break in PLA, and I know because I printed 3 of them. But it's a cool way to find filaments. People still hating ABS. It's because PLA is so easy to print with. And then, like, a lot of people that have printed with a bunch of things, like, I know a lot of guys that don't mind ABS, but they prefer printing with PETG or PETG because it has similar qualities, but, like, it's not as big of a pain in the ass to print with as ABS can be. Oh, people still hating the A8. I see. Deacon, you got pink silk? That's... At least you got silk, man. Yeah, anybody that's just joining us, I mentioned earlier today that this A8 was supposed to come, and we're not actually doing the assembly today, but I wanted to get it unboxed, make sure everything looked okay, and try to do a little bit of prep. 33 minutes. I have about 15 more minutes here that I can stream, and I just want to try to get as much stuff ready as I can so tomorrow goes smooth and we don't waste time doing stupid stuff. Maybe you should get PETG. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I personally haven't printed with it. Or no, I have, actually. Because I got a sample of it. I actually did print with a little bit of PETG. The only thing to watch out, definitely take a little bit of time and Google it or get on YouTube and get some recommendations from people. There's tons of videos on stuff like that. You have to watch because your MK2 is going to have a PEI sheet. You have to watch for over-adhesion. PETG can stick exceptionally well to PEI. So the simplest way to deal with it is to use glue stick and make sure you glue stick the entire build platform. So you're actually doing that to get less adhesion. That way your part will actually release. Because if you don't do that, you can actually bond the PEI to the print and basically never get it apart. What's the build video time? I was planning on 10 a.m. Eastern Standard, but I might get on earlier just so we have more time to get this done. So there's the bearing blocks opened up. They're ready to go. I'll take a look at the flash drive tonight and skim the build instructions. Gonna peel all the paper tonight. The hardware we shouldn't need to get out now. USB cable we don't need. Got a fan and the cooler here. Some of this stuff I might pre-assemble tonight if I get a chance. I would assume this goes to the extruder, but I don't see how. Like, surely this needs some cooling on there. I don't know if this big bracket just acts as like a cooler. I don't understand. I don't understand how that extruder works. I guess we're going to find out tomorrow. All right, so there's that stuff. I guess we'll go ahead and open the LCD. But nothing looks broken. That's a plus. The box looked fine. LCD looks intact. Set that there, ready to go. Get all this trash. It does include tools, like most of the kits do, but I'll probably be using some slightly better Allen wrenches, so they're not teeny tiny. We'll set them over here. Same with the wrenches, because this is similar to the MK2, where the Y-axis is actually threaded rods. So we'll have some actual wrenches on hand. I'd probably recommend anybody that does this kit does the same. It's probably a little bit easier. We're going to have to do some soldering tomorrow. Not a big deal. I think that's everything. Everything's out and ready. Got all our steppers. Whole bunch of wires. We'll do all the wiring last, more than likely. I think we're good to go. And power supply we'll set to the side. Be one of the last things. No, I think everything's here. Everything looks okay. Curious what some of these really small pieces are for. Some of those are tiny. The acrylic parts. Now I'm scared I just won't print with PETG. You can't be scared. You can't be scared to try things. That's something you definitely need to keep in mind if you're going to have a 3D printer. You can't be so worried that you don't try things, but at the same time, you do need to be cautious. Like I said, for PETG, if you just take your glue stick, it'll come with your printer. I have mine sitting back here. It'll come with a glue stick. Just rub it over your PEI sheet and it'll be fine. It won't give you any problems. Check the voltage on the power supply. We can do that. Actually, I don't want to trip this power strip again. I'll do that tonight and make sure it's normal. Because I have other power supplies if this one ends up not being good. But yeah, I'll try it out. And it does have a little potentiometer down here to adjust it, so hopefully it will be copacetic. But I have a bunch of power supplies from arcade games on hand, so yours was set to 14 volts instead of 12. Yeah, we'll definitely check that, and I'll make sure to make note of that in the instruction video too. 220 volts. It was on 220. Yeah, that's the stuff that I think needs attention drawn to it when people do their kits. Because that was on 220. I guess most of the places they ship in the world are operating on 220 service. But we'll check everything we can. See, there we go. There's I don't know what to call you. Your name's so long. Scrub Lord 420 Blazer. PETG is better than ABS. That's a fact. That's the opinion that I've seen most people express after they've actually tried it. ABS prints nice. I haven't printed a whole lot of ABS, mainly for fear of the fumes and stuff. Because I've only printed with 2 types of ABS. The MG94 did not stink. I was really worried about the smell, but that stuff didn't stink. It did, if anybody watched that video, after about 30 minutes of printing, and I was sitting, like, I'm only about 3 feet from my printer, my throat and sinuses are a little bit sensitive, and it did start to bother me after a while, even though it didn't stink. And I haven't heard people really say that about PETG. Yeah, this came from Shenzhen, I think. I think is where it actually came from. Because I got this off of GearBest. I'll throw a link if anybody wants to follow in the Anet A8 journey with me. I'll have a link in the description if you want to buy one. Because it's hard to beat the price. Holy crap. This one was $162 with free shipping. Because, like I said earlier, they have like a perpetual sale on GearBest. And it's hard to beat the price. I think this is, like, obviously I haven't experienced it yet, but everything I've seen from everyone that has one, this is a great platform for someone who's new to 3D printing and is a tinkerer. Like, if you don't have a problem or you're not too afraid to actually, like, try new things and upgrade your stuff, this is a great platform for doing that. They screwed over top the blue stuff. Oh, those screws are in there tight. They are not meant to be loosened. Damn it. But no, this seems like I've said it several times. I wouldn't have bought this for just me. But being that I have a YouTube channel, and I get a lot of questions about the A8 and my opinion of it, for $160, it's an opportunity, one, to have another printer. I'm sure it's going to print okay, so I will be able to use it a lot. But I think it's going to be fun to go through the process of building it and upgrading it over time, to show the power of being able to print your own stuff, even on like a mediocre printer. Hey Pyro, no, I'm not still streaming. I jumped back on because I was expecting this Anet A8 kit to come. I have all the pieces sitting here; they're just out of shot. And it actually did come today, so I wanted to jump on. I've been streaming for about 40 minutes, and I wanted to get everything unboxed and prepped for assembling it tomorrow, because that's what we'll be doing. So yeah, no, I didn't stream the whole time. No, I had to take a break. Well on your way, 3 printers now? Yeah, 3 currently, and then whenever it ships finally, I have a Wanhao i3 coming. But I actually just emailed them yesterday, and they said they're having delays with their manufacturer in China, so it's hard to tell when that'll actually get here. That's the one I'm actually looking forward to the most, because that's going to be my little workhorse. But, no, it is funny. Holy crap. I don't know how it happened exactly. I unloaded a bunch of like retro gaming stuff and ended up getting like more money than I was anticipating. So I was able to buy. I actually planned on getting a CR10. I planned on getting the A8 and a CR10, and instead I got an opportunity to buy the Trinus for a little bit of nothing. It was like $200, and picked up the Anet, and it ended up being on sale for a little less than I was expecting. So I went ahead and got the Wanhao, because I knew that's the best fit for me, even though I really did want to try the CR10. That might be the reason why you're waiting on the 5S. Yeah, I think they had on their site before I ordered that there was I think like a 10 to 13 day delay between ordering and shipping, which apparently is fairly normal. But like I said, I emailed them, and apparently they're having delays on top of that from their manufacturer. Hopefully it's not too damn long, because if I knew it was going to be, 2 or 3 weeks potentially, I probably would have waited on the i3 and probably just spent, it would have been about $30 more to get the CR10. I probably would have got that first and then got the Wanhao later. Why did I go for the Wanhao? Just because of all the things, like Angus is a big reason that I wanted to get the Wanhao. Joe Mike from his channel. Just a ton of guys. Like everybody I've talked to. Jatman was another one that said that was just a rock solid printer at a good price. And like for me, I just needed to sit and print PLA 24/7, and I think that's a pretty solid printer for that. Did I order it from Wanhao USA? I did, and I did not check the Wanhao Google group. Because I think I might call them. I don't know. I hate places you can't call. It's so nice to be able to call somewhere and talk to someone. I was kind of bummed that Trinus doesn't have a customer service number. But no, I mean, I don't mind waiting. I have plenty to keep myself occupied. It just kind of sucks because I wanted to get it set up and running. I have like 1 million prints that I have ready for it to print. And I think the Wanhao i3 is a good printer, like out of the box. But from what I've seen, if you want to spend a little bit of extra money and put like an E3D on it, it's a fantastic little printer. Yeah, like Dawn said. I mean, Dawn pretty much voices the same opinion I've seen like over and over. It's not an MK2, but it's a great little printer. What is wrong with the MK2S? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's fantastic. Oh, I don't technically have an S. I have an MK2. I have the first iteration of the MK2. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great printer. I'd actually have mine running right now if it wouldn't trip my breaker. I'm afraid of it tripping the breaker again. Not the breaker, my little power strip. It actually tripped the beginning of the stream here. But no, the MK2 is great. I love it. That's one of the main reasons that I wanted to get some other printers so I can print stuff that I don't care about quite as much on the secondary printers and then keep all the stuff I need to have like perfect on the MK2S or MK2. Sorry. You have the FT5 coming and the 2KS. You're gonna be a happy little camper, man. It's like it's great and terrible to have the MK2 be your first printer because, like me, it was my first printer. I knew nothing about 3D printing when I actually got mine and put my kit together. But I think I think I'm kind of spoiled now. Unfortunately, like I'm in the MK2 groups, like on Facebook and Google, and then I'm also in some like more generic 3D printing groups, and I have to hold my tongue a lot because I don't want to be a buzzkill. Like people will post pictures of their prints, and I see them, and I kind of want to be like, oh god, that's shit. Like, you know, not to be rude, but you need to tweak that. That looks terrible. But like I said, I don't want to be a buzzkill, so I generally don't say anything. But you're going to be spoiled using the MK2. And I know at least a handful of people that liked the FT5. I think it takes a little tinkering, a little more tinkering than you're going to have to do to the MK2, but it seems like a solid printer. I wish I had an FT5. I'd use it. If Vulgar Tech wants to hook me up with one, I would gladly run it through its paces. When am I installing the Noctua fan? I was going to do that tomorrow if this didn't come. I have everything ready. I have the 30 to 40 millimeter little shroud printed. Again, printed on the MK2. Beautiful print. I mean, we're sitting here talking about it. We can take a look. Because this thing prints great. And normally I wouldn't show this. I've shown this before, but some of you guys that are sitting waiting on your printers, this thing prints great. This little piece here is like fantastic. This was printed on the MK2. And this was printed a little faster than I normally would, so You can get a better surface finish on this than I got if you want to print a little bit slower. I think I printed this at like 55 millimeters a second, something like that. But I've got the little shroud printed, and then obviously I have the fan with the other piece, and I printed that in 2 colors. I did like the first 2 millimeters in orange, and then the rest in black. But it's all ready to go. I just need to get the plugs in. Oh, that's right. I actually wouldn't have done that tomorrow. I'm waiting on the connectors because I'm going to clip the wires right at the fan that it came with, so I don't have to reroute the cabling. And we're going to solder a connector on the end of that, and then solder a connector on this fan. That way, if it ever needs replaced down the road, it's not a big pain in the ass. You can just pop it off, pop the bolts out, and be good to go. So as soon as I get the connectors, there's a good chance that might be next Tuesday. If I don't get a chance to shoot a video this weekend, which I'm probably not because I'm backed up like crazy, we'll probably do that on Tuesday. And get that in. And I also have a decibel meter that I'm going to use to get some actual like numbers about the volume difference. You're going to throw some upgrades on the FT5. It seems like a solid printer. Like I said, I would use one if I had one. If I had infinite money, I would have an FT5. Galen has the... Oh, you went with the 2020 frame? Pretty solid. I'm finally getting some of my first aluminum extrusion probably Friday, I think that's supposed to come. I've got a piece of 20 by 80 for making a camera slider that openbuilds.com hooked me up with. Do I have an oscilloscope? No, I don't. I used to have one and it died. Earl, I applaud the folks that love tearing their printers up. I agree. Look, I mean, you've been around a while, Earl. Look how many times I've torn my working MK2 apart and risked effing it up. Quite a few times. I don't know how many times. I can't think of how many times offhand, but a couple. And it's always been on stream, which is always even more stressful. Boogie says, you love your Noctua. Still struggling with the bearing noise on the X-axis? If you haven't done... You mean the side-to-side. If you haven't done the X-axis to the IGUS bushings, they're actually the one that is like a no-brainer to me to upgrade to the IGUS. I actually went back to the original linear bearings on my Y-axis, because my IGUS bushings had actually worn, not an excessive amount, but they had worn noticeably, and I was starting to get a little bit of wobble in the Y-axis. But the X-axis has worn, basically zero. They haven't worn at all. I make you cringe every time, Earl. You're probably not the only one. I've induced quite a bit of cringe on stream, I'm sure. Am I going to keep the Anet A8 stock or mod the heck out of it? Yes. I'm probably going to try to put, just pulling a number out of my ass, I'll probably try to put 100 hours or so maybe of print time on it before we do anything significant. And then, then we're going to mod the hell out of it. Galen, I had the FT already and had to replace the threaded rods on the Z-axis because they wore out. Yikes. Do you know approximately how many hours of print time you had on it before it did that, Galen? Hey, 3D Print Channel. Well, we've had like the IGUS discussion like a million times. If you do, and I think I'm remembering the right ones, they're the RJ4JP. Let me actually have some. Let me just look. They're the slightly off-colored brownish gray ones. They're the RJ4JP, the ones for 8mm. If you use these in the x-axis, they're a direct replacement to the linear bearings because they're the same size dimensionally. So you don't have to print any extra parts or do anything. You just you do have to do a partial disassembly. You have to take your z-axis pieces off to get access to the end of the smooth rods, but it's not that bad. I did it on stream and it didn't take that long. But yeah, like after using them for a long time, like I'm kind of iffy about doing the y-axis with the IGUS bushings. There's a lot of people that have done it and didn't have any problems, but I personally would just rather tolerate the noise a little bit. There's some other ways you can deal with it, but they seem to, and I haven't done any like objective testing, but the print quality seems to be slightly better with the linear bearings when they're oiled properly over the IGUS bushings, because mine wore. I think I had, I want to say about 500 or 600 hours of print time on the IGUS bushings and the y-axis, and they started to wear noticeably. Like I said, I could actually like grab my build plate and wiggle it a little bit. But there's also people that haven't had any problems with them, so I don't know. You got to kind of come to your own conclusions. But with the y-axis or the x-axis, I'm sorry, they've seemed to hold up great. So I would definitely throw them in there if you haven't yet, even though it does require some minor disassembly. But they do cut down on the noise. They definitely cut down on noise. If you haven't looked at them yet, look into the bearing holders for the y-axis. I think they cut down the noise a little tiny bit. They'll prevent a little bit of vibration in there. And then if you haven't seen the video about doing the cork upgrade, the cork also cuts down noise a bit because it keeps that heat bed from like resonating with those vibrations quite as bad. And between those two, I think you can keep the linear bearings in there without, having a ton of noise. But I definitely noticed that if you can hold out, I know it seems like a lot, but if you can hold out for 100 to 200 hours of print time, they do seem to quiet down a little bit as they wear, if you keep them oiled and stuff. Zapal, you just wobbled your bed. I noticed it. It started really subtle. It was just a really subtle wobble. When I'd be taking prints off, I would notice it, and then it got progressively worse over time, and it got to the point where I was concerned about it. That's why in the one video, I took everything apart, and I took my smooth rods, and I took brand new IGUS bushings, and wobbled them on the rod, and there's basically no play. And then I took the ones that were on the bed, and there was noticeable play. And I think part of it is that the MK2 originally didn't come with very smooth rods. They have a little bit of texture to them, and I think it made the bushings wear prematurely just a little bit. But I think the S's have slightly better smooth rods. You need to experiment with magnetic tech. Oh my god. Yeah, if we'd have like magnetic floating axes, that would be fantastic. The printed mounts for the linear bearings are for the y-axis. They're a little bit of a pain in the ass because the bearings are on the underside of the aluminum plate on the y-axis, and you have to put bolts down through the top. So anytime you want to take them off, you actually have to remove the heat bed from that X frame, which is a little bit more of a pain than it is otherwise. Because tightening up those bolts in the risers on the heat bed kind of make me nervous, because if you strip them, you have to peel your PEI off to fix them. But like I said, I like the printed holders. I know that the S's went to the U bolts, and I don't have any experience with those. They might be fine. I don't think they're going to cut down on noise at all. They're probably going to accentuate it. They're probably going to help those vibrations propagate through the entire assembly a little bit more. But Oh, there's my wife. I got to go in a couple minutes. Am I thinking of getting an SLA printer? Man, I tell you what, I almost bought. It was before I had ordered the Wanhao. I almost bought the one from. Is it Wanhao that has one that's like $3.99 or $4.99? I almost bought one. I almost ordered one, and it was going to be a little bit of a stretch. I would have had to put some of it on my credit card, but I almost got one because I do want an SLA printer really bad. My list is now. I'd like to get a Delta, just because I feel like I need one. There's no particular reason. I'd like to grab a Delta and an SLA, just so I have a chance to experience everything. But yes, I have been thinking about getting an SLA printer. I need to. I just remembered someone actually told me to get in touch with them because. Or is it Folger? Does Folger Tech? I forget who it is that has one. Someone told me to get in touch with them because they have a contact that might be able to hook me up with one to review. Because I would love to have a 3D SLA printer or SLA 3D printer. I should definitely get the Wanhao SLA instead of the CR10. I probably think you're right. I think you're right. SLA would just fit 30 to 40% of the stuff I print would probably be better suited for SLA. And then there's all kinds of stuff that I don't print because I don't have an SLA printer, like miniatures and stuff. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know how the hell to say that. The Moai. The Moai looks pretty solid, honestly, for the price. I think that seems to be like a decent little printer. But yeah, I'd love to have an SLA. It's always you always second guess yourself. No matter what you buy, you're gonna think of how much you spent, and then look at other things on the market and be like, well, shit. I wonder how I'd feel if I'd have gotten that. Because it's like this between the Trinus, the A8, and the Wanhao i3. I could have got a pretty nice little SLA printer, but practical printing. Yeah, that's the one I was looking at. Was the Wanhao, the D7. That's exactly what it was. But it doesn't have an agitator tank. You were correct. Oh, the Moai doesn't have special software required. That's kind of cool. It is a big turnoff. It's I didn't realize how big of a turnoff it is until, and I know I'm not familiar with it. It might not be as bad when I get more accustomed to it. But the Trinus kind of having its own little development suite. I guess that's not the right word really, but just not being able to access it directly in the way you can with a normal printer without jumping through some hoops is a pain. Pretty much, you always want something else. You just ordered a CR10. That seems like a really solid printer. I love that it uses the V-slot wheels and stuff. I think that's a great approach. And using regular bearings instead of linear bearings. I think that's... Again, it's all speculation. But I would imagine if you put 10,000 hours of print time on a printer that uses linear bearings compared to 10,000 hours on the CR10, I would imagine the CR10 is going to wear a lot better. Might not be true, but that's just the impression I get. I think that design would wear a lot better over time and maintain its accuracy a lot better over time. Did I check the Black Belt 3D printer? I have not. I've never heard of that, actually. Give SLA more time. Yeah, I mean, look at regular 3D printers. Look at how much they cost 10 years ago. Not even 10 years ago. The idea of getting something that would perform like the MK2 for $700, that was basically like a pipe dream not that long ago. So hopefully... It's like the regular market stuff. As the technology comes down in price, more people will buy it, and that will cause everything related to it to come down in price. So, like one of the biggest restrictions for me would be the resin. Resin's still fairly expensive, and I would hope that as SLA printers become more common, be able to like produce resins in higher quantities, which should bring the price down and just make everything less painful. Yeah, the V slot wheels they're cheap as shit, and you can buy nice ones that are made out of like pretty cool polymers and stuff that should hold up pretty well. It's Z Unlimited. Ooh, what does Feliz Navidad the song mean? I don't know. Yeah, resin has been coming down in price for sure. Uh, Again, if you compare the price of resin today to like 5 years ago, it's a hell of a lot cheaper, but it's still not cheap, I would say. If you compare like this little gear thing I printed out for that display table, if you'd compare the price of me printing this in PLA to printing this in resin, it's two very different worlds as far as like the cost of this part. Oh, the hang printer. Yeah, that thing's pretty cool. No, Dawn, I'll have to, or whoever mentioned that initially, I'll have to check out the black belt printer. I hadn't actually never heard of that. Feliz Navidad. I can't believe I didn't remember that. Yeah, it's Merry Christmas. All right, guys. Well, I think we didn't accomplish a whole lot, but it's always nice to sit and chat. Uh, it's better than me just like sitting on the internet doing nothing of use. I think we're basically ready. I'm gonna peel some of the plastic, like the coating and stuff off of this, and my wife's not gonna be happy about this, but I'm gonna take it all upstairs after our daughter goes to bed, and we'll sit and watch TV and peel some of this stuff off, and hopefully have everything ready. And I'll probably print out some of the instructions so I don't have to reference the laptop the whole time for everything. But it looks like we're gonna be ready for tomorrow, so hopefully it goes smoothly. If I'm remembering correctly, I think most people get this together in 3 to 5 hours. So we'll try to beat that. Try to be on the 3 hour end of things instead of the 5 hour end of things. $22,000 printers. Yeah, man. I remember. Like I didn't really know much about 3D printing back then, but I had a couple friends that were into it, and I remember how just unbelievably expensive resin was. Promised my wife a manicure. She's not that kind of girl. You probably couldn't pay her to go get a manicure, but she'd like the thought. The thought would make her happy. Maybe I'll make her a milkshake. See, that's the kind of wife I have. I'll make her a milkshake tonight. That'll soften the blow for her. It's after midnight here. Yeah, I gotta go. I think we're actually gonna go down to a place called Twin Kiss and get some ice cream. It's like a 50s diner style family ice cream place that hand dips their stuff. Kind of cool. My daughter freaking loves it. But I think I'm gonna go do that. Get some of this stuff organized. Hopefully our hardware's here. Hopefully this goes smooth tomorrow. But that's what's going to be going on tomorrow. The normal time is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard if anybody wanted to stop by. In my opinion, builds are kind of boring, but people seem to like to watch it for whatever reason. So we'll be here hanging out if anybody wants to stop by. Like I said, 10 a.m. Eastern is the normal time, but there's a really good chance I might start at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Just to have a little bit more time to work on it, so we don't end up like hitting a wall and needing to go because of time limitations. Because I gotta pick my daughter up, but we'll be here if you want to stop in tomorrow. Anybody feels like it. Was it Mac? Thanks again, Mac. If nobody saw, Mac donated 20 pounds earlier. Totally unnecessary. Nobody needs to give me anything. though I do appreciate it. That will go directly towards something else 3D printing related. I might just tuck that away for another printer. Fill this place. I want to get to the point where I'm like some of the other guys on YouTube that are like complaining about having printers. I'm like, oh, I'm so far from that. We need to fill this area up. We need to have them running 24/7. But yeah, thanks everybody. I'll shut up. I'll let y'all go. Hope everybody has a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow if you want to hang out for a bit. All right, peace.